Hi there, folks. This is John Solari, the Method Actor Speaks. And today we have a first. I can't believe Cindy did this to me. I said she has Giglionis. I could have used her in my neighborhood. We really need her on the Method Actor Speaks. Now, so far this is part one. And since Cindy, you did this, why don't you introduce everybody?
Absolutely. Well, we are officially the cast of Eternal Waltz. We are. This is a short film that was written by myself, Thorsten, Becker, Laurie, Lamson. This is Raffaele Marraffa, who is our producer. Thorsten and I also acted in it. We have Gilbert, who's a member of the studio. He plays my husband, Mr. Koenig. We have Smokey Miles, Robert Miles in the back, who is our magic man. He's sort of our omnipresent Cupid, if you will, in our short film, acting in it. And then Laurie Lamson is also our brilliant director. And she also helped kick ass right before the short in doing some producing duties as well. So this is our fabulous cast. Welcome, everyone. Thanks for having us, John.
No, thank you. Now, I want to know what made you write this.
Well, it all started a year ago when I was at a film festival and I met Thorsten Becker, and he had won the Best Actor in the International Short, and we met and we both pulled the same tarot card a few nights later, randomly, and had a little waltz in my kitchen. And when we pulled that same tarot card, he looked at me and he said, "Let's make a film."
So it's my idea, actually. It's all about my idea. And then, yeah, actually, after that, we started to write the script.
A waltz in the kitchen?
A waltz.
A waltz, a Viennese waltz.
The Blue Danube was playing on my radio, and he just said to me, "Would you care to dance?" And I was like, "Wow, he waltzes, okay." Da-da.
Right?
Yeah, and then we asked Laurie to come along. Raffaele actually introduced us to Laurie, and Laurie jumped in, and she's a really great professional writer, and she helped us put it in the proper format and make sure we had all of our T's crossed. And
Now, Laurie, you directed this?
Yes, I did.
Why did you want to direct it?
They asked me to.
Really?
Yeah.
Have you directed before?
Yes, I made a short film, also very ambitious, in San Francisco years ago.
Right.
And I have also done some mini documentaries and a few music videos.
What do you enjoy doing the most? And why do you want to do it? Yes.
It is very challenging. It's like, it takes everything from you, your whole heart and soul, especially a project like this. And I guess I like to really be challenged and put my whole self in.
Your whole self.
And I really love creative collaboration, and this was a high-level collaboration in all ways. So it's challenging, but it's also the most fun.
Have you ever done any acting?
Not professionally.
So you don't. So you do have an idea of how to work with actors.
she's great.
Some idea, yeah.
I have to say, I mean, we felt that Laurie was right because, first of all, she understood our relationship, and she also really had a feeling for the script and for what the whole film was about. So we knew that our vision was in safe hands as well.
I see the producer's shaking his head.
Yes, it was a meeting.
Usually they don't go like, okay, they go, no.
It was a meeting of the minds, and I thought that was very, very important.
And the hearts, I think, too.
Yeah, it melded together very, very well.
Really, now, producing this, what is that about, entail to get a cast like this? You got Ron Gilbert, who's a member of the Actors Studio, Cindy, who's also a member of the Actors. Are you a member of the Actors Studio?
No.
He's very famous, though.
He's infamous.
Infamous, huh?
He's the star of Trauma Entertainment.
He is.
I've known him for 20 years. He's an amazing guy.
Well, we'll get to everybody.
I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to be. I just wanted to try to get him starting with the writer, director, producer, and then we'll go and get everybody. So you're famous, like Walter Hill asked me that one time. He says, any good film on you? I said, yes, in the post office. So what is it like getting together this cast?
Well, when you have relationships that have been very, very good for yourself throughout the years, you like to keep them. And it was it happened by osmosis, since Cindy is on a film that I'm making. I thought that would be a good collaboration, and I felt that the project would have been just nice for me to produce, since I've done some.
What does that mean? It's nice to produce.
Well, again, just the melding of all the characters involved, because Ron and I know each other for many, many years. Thorsten we just met, and Laurie actually I met at a little film festival, and so it kind of really melded naturally, you know. It wasn't forced. It was just, oh yeah, well here we are. We have a script, and I said, geez, I'd like to produce it, you know. And so I helped put some elements together, and just kind of took it along. It kind of just rolls along if you all have the same vision and you're looking towards an end result. Things just fall into place.
Don't mind the wind.
Yeah, it's a windy
It's
day.
a good background.
It's great for the show.
So let's get to Ron Gilbert here. Why did you do this, Ron?
Well,
Outside of friendship.
well, yeah, because I mean, Raffaele I know, and then Cindy I know for the studio, but I knew before that. And Laurie I know also, which is kind of interesting. She has a project, and I got a call, and they want to play this interesting character in 1881 in New York, and I went, he's abusive and sensitive. I said, oh, good, sounds like me. That's it.
And you, my friend.
Oh, I had no choice.
Really?
Cindy said, you got to play this thing, and there was an accordion involved.
Really?
Yeah, and I have a relation with the accordion, so I realized there's not too many other people who could do that and play the squeeze box at the same time. And I've seen Cindy many times on stage, and she's a phenomenally talented actress.
What about you? Have you studied where?
Here and there. I mean,
What's that mean?
in New York with Gene Frankel
Oh,
a
right.
little bit,
Oh, my God.
and used to go over to HB.
Herbert
quite a little
Burgos.
bit, yeah, and
The best
and then-
book on acting is by his wife, Uta Hagen.
Uta
Oh,
Hagen,
yes.
yeah.
The second book, A Challenge to the Actor. I
Yeah.
recommend that to everybody. My classes I used to have all my students read that, because actors read something once and then they put it on the shelf and say, see what I got? You know?
Nice. Well, I lived
But they
right
don't
across
read
the
it.
street from HB for
Oh,
a couple
the
of
Village.
years on Bank Street. Yeah.
Oh, well, I lived on King Street.
Oh, all right, Village. And then I was an observer actually at the Actors Studio in New York for a while. They had me deal with the sound, the recordings.
Oh, back then they used to tape things. Were you
They
there then?
taped it, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of my shows I used to tape them in New York, the scenes.
Yeah.
And and I used to send them back to Salome Jens, and
Right.
they critique my work.
Yeah.
Now, before we go any further, let's get to the star.
Well,
Best actor?
yeah, I'm acting, I'm producing, also executive producer. I was in charge for the whole budgeting process.
You have a Brooklyn accent there.
I'm actually German. Yeah, I got an award for a short film I starred in at the New York Film Festival, and then I met Cindy, and then this whole idea popped up. So we were riding back and forth over the pond, so from Switzerland and the US, and I was script writing with her and with Laurie then together, and then when the project came closer, I did all the budgeting. I gave in all.
He raised 90% of the money.
I raised the money from my
From
amazing
Europe.
friends and amazing family from Europe. So thanks again.
That's where all the money's
Because that's
coming from today, is from
our-
Europe.
Yeah.
Our idea was that we want to pay the people involved,
Good for you.
and we did it. Now we have everything in the, how do you call it?
In the can.
In the can.
Uh-huh.
We did it, and yeah, I'm happy to be part of this whole project, and I'm very excited to see how Hollywood is real, right? So I can touch it right now, because as a European, you always hear Hollywood, and it's stars and everything. But now I'm part of it, and I'm very excited to meet all these amazing people. And
Well, you with some,
that's
I mean, I know two of them anyway, but you with some good people, anyone who's involved in the acting studio. Now, so the audience has an understanding, and anyone can share now, okay? We got everybody. What's this project about?
love.
This is a soul connection throughout lifetime. So it's set in 1881 in a mansion in Beverly Hills at a tarot card party. We have our tarot reader, Smokey, here. And Thorsten plays James, the butler. And back then, of course, class systems prevented people from really being in love. Ron and I are husband and wife. He has a little wandering eye for our other lead actress, Donna Spangler, who plays Miss Cardigan, and she's very funny and fun. But he treats me sort of poorly, and meanwhile, that opens up a dalliance between James and I. And so, but the real key is that Smokey is our magic man, he's our Cupid, so he is the one who is setting us together. We have a music box that plays the Blue Danube, where, well, James puts little secret notes in, and you know, chaos ensues when my husband sort of keys into that.
It's like you got new mail, this music box. I got the mail and then it plays. So
Really?
this is our way to exchanging our love letters.
Until it all goes wrong. And then what happens is we pop into mystical time. You want to talk about that, Laurie?
How do you direct that age, you know, from 1881? What is that like directing that?
Well, it was very challenging because we had a lot of extras, background actors, actually professional actors, being party guests, and we had a lot to cover, a lot of story to cover in a short amount of time. So it was challenging, but it was also very fun and exciting. They did a fantastic job with the costuming. And when people came onto the set, that already, the way the house is decorated already gives you the feeling you're in another time. When they came onto the set in their costumes, I think it got the crew very excited. So we just did what we had to do. We covered as much as we could.
As actors, when you put on these costumes, I saw a photo of it. When you put these costumes on, what does that feel like? I mean,
Stiff and upright.
This took on feature quality
Yes.
in a short film.
Yes.
That's pretty much the essence of.
how long is the film? You said short.
It's a short.
We're gonna keep it
written 11 pages, so it's around 11 minutes. But I think there's a little more that needs to be revealed, which I thought when I saw it, and I just, you know, it took on a bigger life than it was written.
And we do have plans for a feature.
Now, where does it take place?
So it's in New York.
Oh, because I'm thinking, I'm hearing a lot of New York accents, and I wonder if any of us worked on, you know, what people spoke like back then. If any of that was done, Ron,
We
you
didn't
would.
really do accents. It was more culture. It was upscale. It wasn't like a Goomba movie. The man's very rich. He has a way of dealing with people. The costume really helped a lot because, I mean, I have like whiskers. I look like, you know,
Yeah, I saw that.
somebody from the 1880s.
It's very authentic.
We weren't using New York accents at
No.
all.
No.
Wasn't
That's what I meant. Did you try to find a
No,
dialect
Shakespearean
that's...
almost in a way.
Oh, great. And do you guys help with that, a dialect coach or something? Or
We didn't
have
focus
any-
on the accents. It wasn't about the accents. It was about the time period. There were only very few lines. This is not this was about emotion and things being silently communicated. So all of us had very few lines.
Yeah,
so how do you do that? I mean, that's what we really wanted to let the audience know. How do we do this that we can do without lines and go back into 1881 and be that? How do you do that as actors?
Relationship. I mean, there was a lot of eye contact. We have personal chemistry. It was very nice for me to work with Ron and Smokey and Donna and Thorsten and people that I knew because that makes it easy. Now, what freaked me out is Ron is always really great to me, right? And we got on set and he didn't talk to me at all. I'm like, oh my God, he hates this project. He hates me. He's like mad at me. I must have done something. He did not talk to me at all. And after I'm like, Ron, are you mad at me? He's like, no. He was in character the whole time. I was like, oh, and it took me all day to figure out what was wrong with him.
That's funny.
That's great.
You got me, Ron.
You know, the adage, actions speak louder than words,
Always.
was very prominent.
Yes.
So you saw all this
Yeah.
ambiance going on, and you know, hopefully it comes through.
I think it was.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, silence is a very powerful. I don't know how many you're all of age to see The Pawnbroker, right? how many people saw the Pawnbroker? When Rod Steiger, you watch it then. It's the loudest scream I ever heard in my life. He says nothing comes out of his mouth. It's silence, you know. And Charlie Deercopper was in the movie with him. He asked him, "What were you thinking?" And he says, "I was thinking about my daughter being raped." You know. And if you watch the Pawnbroker, that scream when he lets it out, to this day, you know, I always go back to it. Salome Jens told me that you don't have to be. When you look at really good moments, is when people are doing nothing.
That's what's going on inside, yeah.
You know.
We like to see what you're thinking. We like to see what's going on inside of you.
Yeah, how do you do that? I mean, I'm feeling that this is what you went for in this film.
Yeah. Well, in this also, that's only one part of it, and that's the part with dialogue. There's other sections of the film that have no dialogue at all. It's very cinematic.
You want to talk about the rest of it?
Yes.
A little bit?
Go ahead. Anybody can speak.
I had something to add about 1881 first, though. One thing I said to them was, you're in the costume, you're in the location, that puts you in the time. You don't have to put yourself in the time. You can be natural dealing with the relationships and the emotions and your intentions inside of the costume and the location.
Right.
The costume was stiff enough that I
The
didn't have to be stiff.
The costume stiff, that puts you into the time. We get that you're in the time. You don't have to sell the
The
time.
underwear and everything?
With behavior or way of talking.
Bustles and
So you had the
men
underwear.
wore, what do you call
We
it?
didn't wear underwear.
Bow tie.
The hair and makeup was pretty amazing.
Amazing.
Anyway,
And everybody had wigs and or not wig, but
Facial hair.
mustaches and facial hair, exactly.
They're fantastic people doing makeup and hair.
Yeah.
It was
A woman that worked
unbelievable.
on Splash, the film. I mean,
Karen.
Karen Kubeck.
it sounds like
Karen,
I was very lucky.
it sounds like your biggest money was the props. Was it?
Well,
Costumes.
the
That's
The
what I mean.
biggest chunk of
The
money
costumes and-
went into the people and then the costumes.
Yeah, because
The costume. We went to Western costume and we plowed through tons of
Thorsten
different,
designed the men, I did the women.
tons of different costumes, and we were lucky to find the appropriate thing.
We had a lot of help.
I mean, we have to say again, this is a kind of a low budget film,
Right.
and I mean, Cindy and I, we did so many things, costumes and the overall organization, and just everything was funneling through her phone.
Laurie and I were like,
So everything,
It's crazy.
yeah.
It was crazy.
I think sense of place was in order here. Cindy knew Donna Spangler, who donated the location that made all the difference. You could not build a location like that unless you spent $100,000 or more building it and putting everything that was in it. So once that sense of space was in, you added the costumes and the feeling, and you had yourself something, very workable, very, very good.
Special thanks to
Excellent.
Richard Benevisti for letting us use
Yeah.
his house. And then we had
Yeah.
Elena Sobolova and Laura Calcaterra and Annie Ulrich on hair and makeup also, as well as Karen Kubeck. So it was a team effort. I think everyone really worked hard to do their best. Ron, was that a decision you made not to talk to me? I just wonder on set. He got me!
Why was that, Ron?
Well, because the thing is, we have this friction, the relationship doesn't really work. So if I joke around, but I didn't really get involved with her at all.
Nothing.
Because I wanted to keep it that way, because it would create the tension that was necessary. Because when you talked about dialogue, we have a lot of reaction shots. We don't say anything, and people go, there's a thing that happens when we find the message and other stuff, and so you don't need dialogue. That's why a play is different than a film. So no, I didn't.
You played different than the film?
Yeah.
Different, because
A play is different.
a play is different because you have to have
Oh,
the words
yes,
to
I
express
know.
with the camera.
The camera.
And in all truth, they say it's low budget. It didn't feel low budget.
No, thank you.
It felt really major because of the whole costume. I felt rich.
Yeah.
Did you guys get a chance to rehearse? Or
Little bit.
was this
Very
like
little.
done?
Very little.
Yeah.
We were on a tight time budget.
Or redo, but we on the set, you discovered something.
Yeah.
And then when you work with Laurie, and you work with people wanted certain things, and you say, okay, we'll do that. And we pretty much wanted to hit the marks that were supposed to be hit. That was the choice. I mean, it looks like a very rich film. I'm telling you, you're gonna look at it and go.
The cinematography
Yes.
on it was brilliant.
Yeah.
Was really, really like high,
Well, you seem to know a little bit about that. Thank you for.
Yeah.
I had no idea how to do this. You know, from the
Oh, you're
South,
thinking-
I'm from the South Bronx. What do I know? You know.
The other thing, just so that you understand that the arc of the film, is it goes from 1881. What we wanted to do is everyone always jumps back in time. We wanted to jump forward and show how people, when their souls are connected. When Thorsten and I met, we felt like we had known each other forever. And so we said, God, who are you? Have I met you before? I feel like you're so familiar. We wanted to show that through the film. So we jump through an eternal waltz. What happens in between lifetimes? We get to finally do this lifetime of waltzing. Thorsten and I actually Viennese waltz. He studied in Switzerland, I studied here, and then we had a great choreographer, Ali Tavakoli, who is a champion dancer, choreograph us. And we shot that waltz not only in the past, also between lifetimes, and then we have this great scene where now we pop into the post-apocalyptic future, and guess who's there again? Smokey Miles and our magic music box, and that's a whole nother thing, showing that love goes on, and that when have we met before? How do we? Why these people?
So the basic way, what, where, and why.
Yeah, and the love goes on. Soul connection goes on throughout life.
Love is an eternal waltz.
Yes, as a director, I'm really curious. Yeah, I'm a big fan of women directors, so I'm really curious how the men felt being directed by a woman.
Well, you can hug her after.
The other one you got to do it was hug.
I can't hug
Every
a guy.
day.
And it was so nice. And I know her, and she's got a way about it, and she's very, very
But
playful.
what the difference? What do you?
I love working with women. I'd rather work with women than men.
I too.
Really?
Yeah,
They smell
I've always
better,
wanted, because it's something I always felt they bring out that other side of you. When I find male directors, sometimes they're intimidated or whatever. Not that I'm an intimidated guy. I mean, once they find out about my background, then they back off a little bit, and people, I don't even get work a lot of times because of that. But when women directors take a shot, I listen to them. My teachers have always been women, and Cindy, I have to say I admire you because you're so gifted and so. This is what I like about women. They do it.
Thank you.
It's when we talk about actor studio, the work. I mean, you're bona fide that.
Cindy, I met Cindy in Sundance like 12 years ago. And I always thought she was a good actress. And we once were we did that festival, and she auditioned for one thing there. And I said, you should be a member of the actor studio.
Mm-hmm.
She's a good stage actress, but she just shows she's very present.
Right.
And she's got a great way about her. She's very strong, but then she has another sensitive side.
Oh, definitely. I mean, she's very feminine, but very very butch.
So it was really important.
I'm playing a lesbian in his film Desert Daughters, and the man.
I know.
She's also one of the best dancers around.
I know she's a good dancer.
Thanks, Smokey.
I know about that. I hung out. You lived in a village. I used to hang out in a place called Kelly's Village West, which was a lesbian bar.
Oh. Well, and one of my dance partners is Raffaele. He's been doing salsa for how many years?
Really?
Yep. He's great. How many years?
I can't count.
Yeah. But what's great is he does it on the East Coast too, right?
Really?
And everybody else does it on the one.
He films
So
a
thank
lot
you,
of
Smokey.
Latino bands and stuff.
Oh. Well, the Puerto Rican bands back east.
Puerto Rican.
Well, Tina Puente.
Yeah, they were Puerto Rican.
Dominican.
I love Puerto Rican music. It was
Actually,
great.
that's how I first got involved with this project. We all three were doing salsa dancing. We were waiting for Raffaele, and Cindy started telling me about the script idea and asking what I thought. And the next thing I know, we're having meetings and we're writing the script together.
It's amazing how, I'm one of the. Some people who know me, I go in my cell. I don't like to be around people. I avoid people at all costs. And I'm in a business where you're supposed to be out there.
Yeah.
Smokey's out there. We have to talk a bit about
Smokey.
Count Smokula, his alter ego.
You gotta really.
Yes, would you do that?
Yeah, would you talk a little bit? Give us a
You
little
bring your accordion?
Smokeyism.
No,
You should have brought him.
Give us a
No,
little
I
Smokey.
hadn't thought about it, but I had gone to an audition before.
It's
I won't
good.
leave it in the car because whatever. But yeah, I'm a 496-year-old vampire when I have to be.
He's from Smokesylvania.
I'm Spotsylvania, the land that never was, isn't now, and never will be. Thank you too much.
Now, did you audition people? Did you all have to audition, or did you just gave the
We
parts?
asked.
Yeah, just call.
Asked.
You know, that's
We
it.
knew who we wanted.
Make a phone call. Hey, I think
That's what made it work.
Ron might be good for this part.
We all said Ron.
We all knew
Everyone said Ron. We all
Like,
said
yes.
that's Ron. And Smokey, we wrote it for Smokey.
Really?
I
It
think
was-
I got the call that said we're shooting a pilot on such and such a day, show up.
Yeah,
That was it.
filmed. Yeah. Well, we wrote it for you, Smoke. You always were in mind.
So I'm getting the feel that this was back in New York. You'd be like a theater troupe. Really, you know. Which is a compliment. I mean, you all know each other, you all look out for each other and think of each other, which is rare, especially in Hollywood.
Well, I think it's very important.
know.
I think it's very important to gel and to
Why?
meld in.
Why?
Harmony is very, very important in making cinema.
Because all hell breaks loose, and you better like the people when chaos is happening. Because it's hard enough if you don't. I mean, the reason that this actually, who pushed this through, I think, is Thorsten. Because he was coming in from Europe, and this was going to happen at that date, come hell or high water. And whether we were ready or not, we were going.
So we had to get ready.
Right.
Do they call you Arnold for short?
Sorry?
Do they call you Arnold for short?
Arnold for short, not yet.
And it's also nice to mix with other cultures,
Yes.
meaning Thorsten, who came over and gave us that European feel, because it has a European feel to it.
Yeah.
Even though it's 1800s New York, you have that European feel, and that's kind of,
That helps because they
Very
just came from Europe.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
And the film as a
It's-
whole has a European feel.
Yes.
Because it has a magic realism, surreal aspect to it. Having the in-between lifetimes and the mystical being.
Even
Did
a
you
touch
do
of
research
nudity.
on this? I'm gonna. When you direct this, or anybody, did you guys research that period? Anybody?
We did a lot of research about 18.
I mean, as the actors, what it was like back then? You do any? Well, we do a background on who I am.
Well,
Where did I come from?
I kept being told that I was timeless.
You are.
Yes.
So I didn't really, live in any period, except I kind of floated through them.
His
Yeah.
clothing did not
Yeah.
age. His props did not age. Smokey is timeless.
Because
timeless and ageless.
there's a way of speaking and this, that. A lot of times when I see these period pieces and they use like, MF words and this and that, I'm thinking, they didn't use that back then.
Yeah, no.
We researched some of the words as we were writing it, the three of
I don't
us. We'd be
think they
like,
did.
did they say dalliance? Did they say,
Yes.
we said libation instead of a drink, like
Yes.
what did we use?
Yeah.
And then for the costumes, thank goodness we had a really great girl at Western Costume. It was like, here's the 1881 rack. Yes, it was a back bustle. This is how you tie it on. This is what they wore. I mean, we had help. But for the costumes, it was hard. And then the hair and makeup girls went crazy figuring out what exactly to do. I mean, that was their challenge, really.
With that, we're going to go to part 2 in
Okay.
1 minute.